It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It's your Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso, right here on S3. And we are so excited to join this conversation once again with Shudufhadzo Musida, who, of course, is the former Miss South Africa from 2020, a time when everything was uncertain. But one thing was for sure, she had her eyes set on many prizes that she's just picking up along the way and serving you too.
Absolutely, and serving us so much when it comes to pertinent conversation, how to take passion, turn it into purpose, and create incredible impact. And we had a little bit of a brief touch on that, but let's dive and explore more of our Queen of the Hour, because you are doing such incredible work. I feel like guilty for not using more of my own energy, because what you're doing, I felt like I was tired, and then hearing what you're doing, I'm like, hang on, I've got no excuse. Because
I'm always like, I don't have enough hours. Hello?
Absolutely. So we touched on the travels, we touched on some of the incredible sort of campaigns you've been involved in, but we haven't even spoken about your foundation, which is, again, impact on another level. I can literally see you smiling when we mention the name, but talk to me about how everything's going, how this, obviously we know how the foundation started, but the reason behind it and the impact it's having right now. What's that been like for you? What are you experiencing?
The foundation, honestly, is, I call it my baby.
Yeah.
But I'm also like the type of person where I can be a type A personality in terms of wanting everything to be perfect. But what I realized with the foundation over the last 2 years is that it doesn't need to be perfect as long as it's doing the work. Right now we're working on dignity first initiatives where sometimes when I work with brands, I tell them, listen, instead of paying me X amount, how about you actually donate to the school and do this and do that?
That's brilliant.
And I've gone to different schools, obviously, when I was Miss South Africa. And as an author, I've gone to different schools to read to children. And there was this one specific school that I went to. I remember I was donating books. And the children didn't have shoes. And I was like, oh, okay, we're coming here with books that are very pretty, but they don't even have school shoes.
The basic
essentials. And I remember I was speaking to one of the partners I worked with, and I was like, listen, I'm doing this project for you, but I just know as a South African mothers and fathers go to work. Sometimes they don't even buy themselves clothes to make sure a child looks good when they go to school. That's dignity, that's who we are. I just knew how hard my mom worked to make sure that I fit in with the other kids. And I know that's something that's so important. We've seen the different stories on TV, and I was like, it's about dignity. You know, like a child feeling proud, feeling like they are going to get a seat at the table because they look the part as well. And I spoke to them, I sent them a whole long email, and I said, I'd really love for you to donate school shoes. And I went back to the first primary school that I went to in Limpopo, and I donated school shoes to the whole school. And this was with partners who actually did incredible work. But for me, it's about dignity first. I feel like one thing that I really love focusing on is economic and educational empowerment, which is why I'm doing the work that I'm doing. But I was like, how are we focusing on the big concepts when we haven't even focused on the small ones? Food security. A child cannot go to school hungry. How do you expect them to get good grades, get the scholarship that they need in order to get to the other side? They say education is the key to economic emancipation. But the truth is, they can't even get to a point where they succeed because they're hungry. Young girls are using newspapers as sanitary pads.
Talk about it.
Like, how are we saying, oh yeah, just let's focus on this and let's focus on that? You are actually not giving them the tools they need to succeed. They can't even get to the other side of finishing high school. There are children that are going through abuses at home. And when I went to that school, it made me realize that we're focusing not on the wrong things, but it's too soon. Like, why are we focusing on the big concepts when these children don't even have the basic needs? Yeah,
and I feel like this speaks so well to the sentiment you mentioned earlier. You were younger, you had a vision, but you need to have the basic essentials taken care of so you don't have to worry about anything else and you can focus on that dream. So you're essentially allowing these kids to have a dream, give them an opportunity to dream, and then essentially make it materialize like you have now. So creating a pathway of success, essentially.
Exactly. It's almost like all of us here, we need to get to the studio, right? But if you had no ways of getting here, how would that even work?
How are you going to carry it
out?
Like,
it's a simple analogy to me. Like, if there was no cars, no buses, no nothing, and you're expected to get to work, how would you get to work if you did? How are you going to show up? How are we going to sit here smiling and actually like being on the show and talking to people without the basic needs? And that's what my foundation does. I had someone, they were like, why would you focus on sanitary pads? And it wasn't just that, you know, like school shoes, sanitary pads, and like the other essentials. It was more of For me, it was also the education around it. So we also did a workshop with an incredible organization, Curate. They were our partners on this as well. And we wanted to educate not only girls, but boys as well.
You're right.
Because I watched while I was in New York, I was on this incredible panel with incredible people, and we were speaking about how there was this young girl in Kenya. She was 12 years old. She got her first period in class and her teacher called her dirty, and then she, on the same day, died by suicide because of the lack of information.
Right.
So that's what we started doing, like information, education. We give them certificates so they feel like they achieved something.
Acknowledge them, yeah.
But a lot of these young girls specifically are raised by grandmothers. They're in child-headed households. There's no one educating them about their bodies, their bodily autonomy, consent, little things that go a long way. So we focus on education, got them reusable products that they can use, educated not only the girls but the boys as well, so they understand and they're sensitized to the language and respect that they need to have when they're speaking to these young girls. The school shoes, these are just like entry points, but I believe they make the biggest difference in how these young students show up. And the truth is, I've been so blessed to have brands, organizations call me and say, listen, we've actually been following your work for a while now. How can we help?
I love
I want to jump on the bus and
that's
follow
the point,
change. Yeah.
really. I absolutely love that. And the fact that you are causing ripple effects everywhere across the country
Not
and
ripples,
beyond.
these are waves.
These are tsunami waves. Let's talk a little bit about your Mindful Monday initiative. I know that it got started just, I think, after COVID, and now it's making a comeback. So tell us a bit more about this.
So Mindful Mondays is like my baby. I love it so much. But we started it obviously when I was Miss South Africa, and we had over 1 million views in 8 months. And it was incredible because, you know, I used to do it every single Monday at 7 p.m. and you can only imagine how exhausting that is when you've had a full day.
Right.
And I had incredible partners like SADC who had psychologists and psychiatrists and mental health professionals come and freely donate their time and resources to educate. Because I felt like during COVID, people are focusing on economic recovery. People are at home anxious. People are like the stats right now of like how depression and anxiety doubled or like increased by at least 20% in so many different places. It was so important to also focus on the mind. As I said, when I won Miss South Africa, the mind is the powerhouse. Without it, how do you expect people to get to the other side? People lost family members, jobs, etc. And Mindful Mondays was like a place where we say, we see you, we hear you. And in 2023, I think I was on Expresso actually talking about Imbe. We were about to launch Imbe Buwets, and I was on a flight. I just came back from Kenya. I was in Kenya for 48 hours, flew back from Kenya. I actually slept at the airport because I arrived at 2 a.m. And I had a 9 a.m. flight. And when I got up, I got on the flight, and I was just feeling so drained, and I felt so down. This guy on the flight, it was an SA flight, they like just kept on looking at me the whole time. And I'm wondering, why is this guy looking at me? Because I was tired. Like, I just didn't have it in me. I had to get makeup done. I had to, like, be alive, and I wasn't. And then eventually, like, one of the lead cabin crew members says, there's a guy here who really wants to speak to you. In my mind, I'm like, you know, like, I'm tired.
I can't deal with this
now. He then says to me, Mindful Monday saved my life. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'd lost my job. I'd lost everything. I had to move back home. And when I'd watch Mindful Mondays, I'd realize that I wasn't alone. And then he said his mom actually got to a point, she's now passed, but she would remind him to watch Mindful Mondays every single Monday. And he said, thank you.
Wow.
In that moment, I just wanted to cry because I was like, you don't understand the amount of times where I just felt drained from like pouring out so much and not even knowing if it landed somewhere.
Right.
And I've had a few people who told me that it landed somewhere, and now we're bringing it back. It's not going to be heavily focused on the education part, but it's going to be focused on mental wellness with different guests, from athletes to business people to people who work in the humanitarian space, to just be yapping, honestly. But it's coming back in a different way, and I'm so excited to produce this offering in a way where I'm assuming that we're all educated on mental health now, and we can just have a real conversation like we're doing now.
Oh, I'm here for it. And I'm here for you, and I'm here for the work that you are doing. And thank you again for saying yes to your purpose and your calling, because you are definitely saving more lives than you probably think. Shudufhadzo, everybody. Miss 2020 South Africa, but doing so much more with the platform that she has been given. We'll definitely keep our eyes on this superstar right here.